Flag Day today. Welcome to America's Mayor Live. Of the free and the brave, true are the red, white, and blue. Choose acquaintance be forgot on the grand old flag. I believe that was written by George M. Cohan, the great American musical star who was depicted uh, in a great American movie, which you all should see. Um, is it Born on the 4th of July, the name of the movie? We'll have to go back and look. James Cagney, who before he became typecast a bit as a gangster, was a song and dance man and displays it to great effect in that movie where he plays George M. Cohan. Uh, People say he was better than George M. Cohan, if that's possible. Um, well, I don't usually start the news because I don't like to be the news, but I am the news. So let me begin by saying that a person named, you may know who he is, a person named Hunter Biden dropped a lawsuit against me, which really makes sense because I didn't know what the hell the lawsuit was about, against me and a person named Robert Costello. Now, you all know Robert Costello. He's become quite famous as a witness in the case, in the totally ridiculous setup, frame up case by that disreputable prosecutor Bragg, who didn't prosecute the case himself because he's too much of a coward to prosecute it himself. He had other people do it. Biden sent in a designated hitter named Colangelo. Of course, they didn't really need anybody to try the case because the case was fixed. That's like, having a referee in a fixed boxing match. All he does is, count you out when you go down. Uh, so the reality is they dropped the lawsuit against me. The real issue is they never should have brought the lawsuit in the first place. As I said at the time that they did, and have often said, they're lying. Once again, I don't know how often I need to prove that they lie and I tell the truth until you come to the conclusion that they're liars and I tell the truth. It's always the same group of people. It's the Bidens and their supporters. Shifty Schiff and Swalwell and this new guy Goldman and Hunter Biden and Hunter Biden's lawyer, who just really, really blew the case beautifully for him. He couldn't have had a worse lawyer if he tried. Who kept asking one question too many and getting slapped across his stupid face. And he's the one who brought that lawsuit against Costello and me, in which he claimed that, I don't even remember, I read the complaint so quickly. It was one jerky claim after another. I think I don't remember if he did the earmarks of Russian disinformation, or he made some allegations about doctoring the, the hard drive or computer. Either I did or Costello did. I think he's made similar claims against John Mac Isaacs also. Of course, what he didn't take into account is the FBI had verified that hard drive and computer as of 8 months before I got my hands on it. At the time that I was, at the time that I was discussing the hard drive, which I verified personally myself, I had not known that the government had officially done it. Of course, the liars who concealed the hard drive and kept it from the American people never told the American people that. Instead, they allowed Joe Biden to go on national television and tell the biggest proven lie ever in the history of presidential debate. In fact, it's really interesting. That's one of the last things he did in the debate. He could be debating again soon. And the question is, how many lies will he tell this time? A lot of his lies are very provable. He's an interesting liar in the sense that a lot of people lie and they're careful. It's hard to prove it. You got to work at it. He tells lies like Michael Cohen. Like where there's a tape or video that proves the opposite. Like, for example, I never knew anything about my son. Oh, he doesn't talk that well. Why am I doing that? You know how Trump gets in trouble when he imitates him, and they say, Trump is becoming old and senile, and now Trump doesn't want to imitate him anymore. I don't care. You can say I'm old and senile because I'm not. I am old, but I'm not senile. And anytime you want to prove it, I'm probably smarter than you are, and sharper than you are, so and can stay up later, and work harder. So let's try it. Okay. So here, this is how he would say it. I don't know anything about foreign dealings of my family. I never talk to my family about foreign dealings. Then you put on the tape. Boop. It's Pop left a message for Hunter. And then he talked better back then. Hunter, I read the entire article about all your foreign dealings in China, and don't worry, you're in the clear. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Gee, I thought you never talked to him about his foreign, but you just left a message about his foreign dealings, and you read all about him in the Times, and you said you didn't know anything about him. Is that you in that picture with all those people who look Chinese? They all come from Delaware. How about these Kazakh guys with those big Russian hats on, and that woman there? That the one that gave you the 3.5 million? Yeah, yeah. Oh, and by the way, he put other sanctions on Russia today. There's always something you can make money on if you bet. I don't bet. Every time he puts out sanctions, before he puts them out, make a bet that Katerina Budarina is not on them. Even though she's one of the biggest oligarchs in Russia and one of Putin's closest allies, he never sanctions her because she's the only one we know of in Russia that gave him 3.5 million. Would you call that a bribe? So would everybody else, except the crooked media and the Trump deranged people who can't engage in the process of logic any longer. Uh, so um, so this one is out. I'm telling the truth about that. They're lying about it. They sued me also for creating the violence of January 6th. I said I had nothing to do with it. That was the entire crooked J6 committee, including Shifty Swalwell and their chairman and Schiff and the Republican pigs, Cheney and that other one that used to cry all the time. It's terrible what they do. Never shed a tear for Ashley Babbitt, though. Ashley Babbitt was killed on. What do you say about that? Hmm, I don't give a damn. She wasn't on our side. So they sued me, but you don't know this because the press doesn't report it. That case was dismissed with an opinion by the judge that it wasn't plausible that had anything to do with it. That's another one. Giuliani telling the truth. All of them, same group of people lying. Hey, geez, same group. I remember the very beginning when I got involved in this defending Trump and telling you that Russian collusion was a load of crap, purchased by Hillary Clinton to frame Trump. It turns out I was telling the truth about that, and they were all lying. Same group of people. We got three now. We're going to pick a time they told the truth. Give me one. Then they did. Trump did a quid pro quo conversation with the president of Ukraine. He said, if you don't investigate the Bidens, I will hold back your money. Trump put out the transcript the next day, unlike them, who will not put out the video of Biden probably fainting during the her investigation. Has to be. I mean, what? It's about 6 hours. Must be unbelievable. He probably becomes catatonic at one point. What else can he do that he hasn't done yet? He's defecated in front of the Pope. He tried to sit down with no chair there. He's the only guy we've ever seen falling going up the stairs. He can't remember the Pledge of Allegiance. He thinks that he gave his uncle a medal 5 years after his uncle was dead and 7 years after his father was dead. And his uncle never got a medal at all. I don't know. He thinks he graduated first in his class. He was next to last. What else can he do? The only other thing he could do that they're worried about, because nothing he could do that would shock us on that, is they ask him a question and he says, one of those. That could be it. Of course, then we would know. We would say, we've just been attacked, Mr. President, by Russia or China. Are we going to retaliate? What do we do then? We got to go through the 25th Amendment, and by the time we're all finished, we're gone. Maybe we should get rid of them. What do you think? Well, in any case, that one was dismissed, and now, what? Look at all those other. I mean, they just keep alleging new things. They've got 2 indictments of me for the same thing, carbon cop. They could put them together, and dismiss them once. One of them is with Fanny, who's getting very sensitive about her name now. She's really upset that she's not called Fawny. So why the hell doesn't she spell it Fawny? If her name is Fawny, what the hell are you spelling it like somebody's asked for? Fanny. I mean, I can't help it if you spell it Fani. A lot of Americans think that is equivalent to an ass. There's my Fanny. I mean, look, I'm just pointing it out. I'm not saying you're an ass. I would never call you something so nice as that. You're an absolute felon. You're the one who said that you got your money from the campaign funds, and in crooked Fulton County, they look at you like, oh, well, so do we. We live off something that we steal. It could be the most crooked county in America. Probably Manhattan is, but I tend to think so. But certainly the judiciary. Wow, 2 judges like that. So that case is dismissed. Hunter's case is dismissed, but that's okay. They won't even be in the papers. It'll be like the New York Post has, but this big. When they brought the case, it was this big, this big. And I should just thank him for doing it. This big. He's dismissed. And why? Because he's a damn liar. That's why. Misused the court process to bring that case. Just like they're using the court process constantly. They're using it like a political weapon. Our courts weren't made to be a political weapon by the party of slavery. I mean, it's terrible. Well, happy Flag Day. My flag shirt. See, I should have really worn my other shirt. I'll wear it for the 4th of July. There you go. See my flag? There's my flag. That says USA there on the other side. This is meant to irritate the people in Manhattan. You go out like this in Manhattan, and they look at you like you're weird, because any show of patriotism is very, very dangerous. It might mean that you won't become communist. And then for people in Manhattan, that's really tough, because they don't want to be communists. Of course, they don't know what it is, because they haven't had an educational system here in about 30 years. The private and the parochial, yes, but public? No. Since I left, straight down. I mean, we've increased the amount we spent on kids per student by $15 a kid. So it went from something like $17, $18 a kid to $30, $35 a kid. And we've gone from like second, third, fourth in math and English, 24th and 27th. How do you go any lower? You're going to fall off the chart. It'll mean nobody can read or write. I mean, if you're 24th or 27th, you're like vaguely reading, writing, and adding. Ever go into a store here with people educated here and try to get them to add? That's why they can be brainwashed so easily. And why do the Democrats not want to do anything about the public school system in the poor areas? Why? Why do they fight a choice and charter schools? In New York, we have a limit on charter schools. One, because of the Communist Teachers Union. And two, because they want to keep people uneducated. So they can brainwash them. It's easier to brainwash them. So, and also, happy birthday to President number 45 and President number 47. I will tell you that we called and sang him happy birthday. He called back and didn't seem terribly impressed with the singing, but liked the sentiment. And he's in great condition watching the U.S. Open. And he seems to be more interested in that than politics right now. Although I tried to engage him in a little political discussion, he really wanted to discuss the U.S. Open. And also my victory in California, which he was very happy about, meaning the dismissal of the case. You see, he has people to tell him things like that because it isn't reported anywhere. So thank you, Mr. President, for caring and keep plugging away, because if you don't win, we're finished, babes. You got a lot riding on your shoulders. So let's take a short break, and then we will be right back. Delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please donate now. Welcome back. And I thought in order to catch everybody up, we would we'd let you know just how clear, after all that we now know about the computer, the hard drive, that it did come from John Mac Isaacs, that it is Hunter Biden's, that it does contain evidence now of a crime, 3 actually that were proven as a result of text from it, where it described in great detail the transaction where Hunter Biden illegally purchased a gun, lied about his being a drug addict and a drug user, and then his sister-in-law, former sister-in-law and mistress, took it, ran away with it, put it somewhere, then he retrieved it, and the whole thing. That it was absolutely accurate with regard to that transaction. It was admitted into evidence by the United States government, the Biden Justice Department. It was verified by the Biden FBI, and that's really what it is. And it was the basis for a conviction beyond a reasonable doubt. Sounds like a pretty damn accurate hard drive, huh? Well, there are about 98 more crimes to go, and all of them are more serious than the little piece of crap he was convicted of. So let's play, if we may, Let's play the last time that he was. When did they debate again, Ted? No. When did they debate? Now. Well, in any event, they're going to
June
debate
27th.
real soon. So
June 27th, 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks.
I think the president said he's going to start with another lie. You ended with a lie last time. Shall we pick up with that one? Here's the lie. I mean, to the American people, lying in order to be president should put you in jail. It certainly shouldn't make you president.
Race. We're talking about the issue.
From hell.
President Trump, we're talking about race right now, and I do want to stay on the issue of race. President Trump,
I have to respond to that.
Please,
because look,
very quickly.
There are 50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plant. They have said that this has all the five former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage. Nobody believes it except his and his good friend Rudy Giuliani.
You mean the laptop is now another Russia hoax?
That's exactly what.
Is this
that's
where you're
exactly
going?
what.
This is
told.
where he's going. The laptop is Russia,
Gentlemen,
Russia.
I want to stay on the issue of race.
You
okay?
have to be kidding. Here we
Mr.
go
President,
again with Russia.
We're going to continue.
Okay. You going to vote for him again? If he lied to you once, come on. But he lied to you twice and you make him president. Shame on you. And you know, what follows from being a liar and a crook like that is a world with two wars. Hundreds of thousands of people dead in Ukraine that would not be dead. Thousands of people dead in Israel, in Gaza that are dead that wouldn't be dead. Americans dead from Afghanistan that wouldn't be, and Afghanis who helped America dead who wouldn't be if we had a president that was either or both loyal and had a functioning brain. Our economy would be whizzing along as it was right after, even after the pandemic. Trump had reorganized it as quickly as an economy has ever been reorganized. And just one unbelievable number of anti-American decisions that only could be justified by a person who wants to destroy America and make us part of the Soros one world alignment, which is what they want. What they want, meaning the people running Biden, Obama, Soros, and who knows who else is behind that curtain. There's a little committee that runs it. I don't think Obama runs them all by himself. He isn't smart enough and he doesn't have enough energy. There's got to be a little committee that runs him, a little committee that wants to make this world. Some of them want to make it one world. Some of them want to make it communist. But it's not going to mean anything because China's going to eat them up. And you know who Xi Jinping gets rid of first, right? All of them. You come next. But me too. But they come first. Because at least they actually have a little more respect for us. And that they don't feel as endangered by us after we lost already. These guys have won the revolution, but they want to own the thing themselves. So boom, you're dead. Happens with every communist takeover. Happened with the Ayatollah's takeover in Iran. So they're big targets. So we'll see when he debates this time how many lies he tells. Maybe at some point before the next debate, we'll go back and figure out how many lies exactly he told. There's a whole bunch of consternation about President Trump possibly saying at a fundraising gathering, I guess, that Milwaukee is a horrible place. Well, Milwaukee has one of the higher crime. It is down a little this year, but even people in Milwaukee say, even down historically, it has one of its highest crime rates. It's considered one of the top 10 most dangerous cities in the United States. It's got a school system that is worse than or equal to the one in New York. Oh, just figured nobody uses it that can get away with using it. It's losing population. It's got a debt. Yeah, it's a horrible place to live. I'm sure some of the Democrats have said that when they were running for office, and they're going to improve it. Adams said it about New York when he was running. New York was horrible. It had gotten horrible again. That's absurd to make this into an issue. And this is what the American people like. What do you think? Oh, Milwaukee's wonderful. Why don't you come to Milwaukee? You won't get killed like everybody else and beaten. And you'll be the only, it'd be great to go to public school. You'll be the only kid in public school. They're all leaving. Yeah, yeah. And there are a lot of houses available because everybody's going someplace else. It'd be terrific. It could be on an absolutely abandoned block. Yeah, come to Milwaukee. It's got a great future. It's all falling apart. No, the idea is to point out how bad it is and do something about it. I didn't make believe that New York was great. I told the truth. New York was a disaster. It was on the front cover of Time magazine as the rotting of the Big Apple. Donald Trump didn't say that. Time magazine said it. By the time I was finished with it, it was on the front cover of Time magazine as the best example of urban renaissance in America, because I'm a Republican. And I don't subscribe to those self-defeating communist policies that they put in effect in city after city that they're ruining. Starts with letting criminals out in the thousands. In the thousands. Soros pays for that. He's donated 50 to 60 million to ruin our cities. No wonder they're bad. He's getting his money's worth. In Philadelphia, in certain places, the ones he's proudest of, Soros has set records. Like Philadelphia, been around longer than almost any other city. Under Soros's infusion of money and his district attorney Krasner, they set records for homicide. In other words, more people got killed in Philadelphia than ever in its long and illustrious history. Thank you, George. That was a nice thing you did with your money. You're a real philanthropist. Wow, you're a great guy. Oh, you did the same thing in St. Louis, too? Isn't that great? More people got killed in St. Louis? Yeah, and most of them are black, huh, George? Oh, you're a sly one. Yeah. You're finally working on that racial thing, that little extra thing that Hitler had in the background, huh? Yeah. By the way, you turning anybody over to the government like when you were a kid? You like that too? Yeah, I know you said on 60 Minutes you enjoyed it. It was the best time of your life when you were ratting out kids, huh? And ratting out property. What a guy, that George. Oh yeah. He hates Israel too. He does. And then he wants you to be accused of being an anti-Semite if you can't. It's like the guy does and says everything that indicates that he hates the Jewish people. Like he wants to destroy the state of Israel. He also has a history that any person, Jewish or otherwise, would be ashamed of. And he pays people to get you labels as an anti-Semite if you attack him. If you don't attack him, you're an anti-Semite. Speaking of the great people of Israel, let's talk about the IDF. There's a great article by Andrew Fox, and I'm gonna bring it to you in a few moments about the strategy of the IDF and what they're doing and what is misunderstood about it. It's not really misunderstood. This is done in order to stop them from succeeding. I mean, the strange thing about Biden, and we'll point it out when we go to Ukraine, is he doesn't want anybody to win these wars for different reasons. In Israel, it's because of his allegiance to Iran. In Ukraine, I don't know why he doesn't want them to win. They say he's afraid of a nuclear confrontation with Putin. If you're afraid of a nuclear confrontation, I'm telling you, and you act that way all the time, you're going to lose more people than you can shake a stick at. You shouldn't be president. We'll be back in just a moment. Want to bring that over? Delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. Sean is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please donate now. This is Rudy Giuliani back with you. Well, Andrew Fox, who was an officer in the British Army from 2005 to 21, who was a major, I gather, and worked with the U.S. Army Special Forces. He's pointing out that most of the people that are arguing now that Israel should not be returning to the north, because right now Israel, well, let's show what they're engaged in. Israel is engaged in a two-front war. In the south with Hamas, which of course began when Hamas invaded them on the 7th of October. So that's down here. And up in the north with Hezbollah, which is in fact more active than it's been in a very, very long time. So now let's focus on the South for a moment. They, of course, over the last seems like over a month now, have been focusing on Rafah, which is the last part. They had taken the northern and central part of Gaza pretty quickly, where Hamas was located. They had driven down to Khan Yunis, which is over here. And now they're down in Rafah, and the whole issue is they were told by Biden that they should not continue in Rafah, that they should get out because they're going to kill too many of the civilians, which of course is the lowest civilian rate that you could possibly have. And they're also now Israel has returned, and they are hitting Rafah pretty hard. But they also are going back up north and eliminating additional Hamas units in the north, up here, and also in the center. And of course, when they made their rescue, that was more or less in the center of Gaza, where they landed right here on the Mediterranean. And they've put a landing area there for themselves, and so they can come back and straighten it out. So Andrew Fox says, of course, they don't understand what they're doing. The whole purpose of their invasion was not to invade Gaza the way we invaded Afghanistan and Iraq. Go in there, take over the whole country, subjugate it, and then try to run it. They have no intention of running Gaza. Their intention is to get rid of Hamas, most importantly, to get rid of the capability of people from Palestine coming into Israel and killing them, and doing as Hamas has vowed to do, and virtually the whole population of Palestine, which is to kill the Jews. So even if you say eliminate Hamas, the sentiment of Hamas is shared by the overwhelming majority of Palestinians, despite what the liberal liars tell you. Now, all you got to do is look at their textbooks and see that at 2 years old, they're trained to kill Jews. There's no, 90% of the population supported October 7. There's no, you can't, you can find an occasional Palestinian that looks at it in a humane point of view, but most of them don't. Most of them look at it from the bad interpretation of the Quran point of view. And so the strategy is to contain them and to realize that even when it's over, they're going to have for a long time the capacity to contain them. in order to keep themselves alive. In other words, the capacity to come back in there, and when they create a threat to human life for Israelis and Americans, because those are their two prime, to go in there and eliminate them. And that's what they're doing. And as he says at the very end, it's a brilliant strategy. If you look on if you look over here on my camera, you'll see a shot of a building that was taken down in Gaza. Now, that was yesterday, and that was taken down in the northern part of Gaza, where they're returning to make sure that Hamas is cleaned out. That was a building that had capacity for coordination of attacks. In fact, they entered Gaza. They really concentrated on three areas of Gaza in the last attack. One was the Netzarim corridor. The Netzarim corridor is up here. It's right below Gaza City, and it's a corridor that goes right through like that, right here. That means anytime Israel wants to come in, that place is secure, held, and they can come in. And then they can go north-south. So they opened that up. They also moved to as part of the taking of the hostages back. They came in over here, right here in the demilitarized zone. This whole area is demilitarized. No fighting takes place in here, but it allows Israel to go back and forth on the north-south road. They cleaned that out, made sure it was demilitarized, and then landed on the Mediterranean, came into Nuseirat, and took out the 4 hostages, lost 1 soldier, killed anywhere from 200 to 350 of the enemy. And then they also have been on a regular basis hitting the Philadelphia corridor, which is the place that's closest to Egypt and to escaping to Egypt. Just right there. And they say to do this right, they need about another 6 months. And I say, give it to them. Let them do it right. Why do you want to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory for your biggest ally against a country that, as a secondary, if not primary matter, wants to kill you, unless you're a traitor? Well, that answers it, doesn't it? We got to go into more about how much money we give the people who kill the Jewish people, how much money we give to the people who kill them, not only in Palestine but in Iran, the reign of terror. Oh, by the way, don't they kill Americans too? Didn't the Quds Force under Soleimani kill lots of Americans? Soleimani lasted for about 2-3 years after Obama gave him hundreds of millions to kill Americans. Oh, he didn't know that it was to kill Americans. That's why he was cash. Huh? Like he called up he said, Ayatollah, how much you need? He said, I need a couple $100 million. Oh, okay, no problem. We I've always had a soft spot for Islamic extremism. And the Ayatollah said, oh, yes, you'll be blessed. You'll be blessed by Allah, absolutely. So, but you, do me a favor, Barry. I tell you, why not put it in cash? So Obama said, well, we usually do it by wire. Isn't that what we usually do it by wire? He said, yeah, like they did the drug transactions in Chicago, and the organized crime transactions. You probably weren't involved in those, but you know how they do it, right? They do it in cash. It's hard for me to cash all those wires and give it to Hamas and Hezbollah to use it for the Quds Force so they can kill your people. It takes a while, so get it to me in cash. And Obama said, yeah, just don't tell anybody. So Obama did a bunch of those by jet, middle of the night. Finally got caught. That's okay. We didn't do anything to him. He wasn't the first ex-president to be prosecuted. It was Donald Trump because some accountant made an error, they say, in a bookkeeping form where the statute of limitations had run, but they say it was in pursuance of another felony that they never told them what it was. That was the first case brought against the next president, not giving cash to the biggest terrorists in the world, who at the time were engaged rather actively in killing Americans. And their money was supporting that. He didn't go to jail. He's sitting around worth billions, having a great deal of fun. He even has a place in Martha's Vineyard where they wouldn't take any of the aliens brought in by his friend Biden. Yeah, it was a sanctuary city until they actually showed up and turned out they were brown and not the kind of people you want. And I mean, Obama gets in because he's part of the golden circle, but just regular people like that, throw them out of here. Get the bums out. They got them out in half a day. Yeah, those are your limousine liberals. As Malcolm X said, biggest problem for black people are white liberals. Don't agree with Malcolm X on much. We agree on that, don't we? Yeah. Sounds pretty much like Byron Donalds was saying too, huh? But they get all upset about Byron. Malcolm X says it, and he's a god. Byron Donalds says it, and oh my God, oh,
Right.
terrible, terrible Byron. Oh, we're not going to let any of them. That's the whole. We're not going to let any of them be liberated. They got to say what we want them to say. That's what disinformation is all about. Disinformation is saying what the party of slavery, the party of segregation, and now the party of holding blacks in subjugation. What they say, you can say, and that's otherwise it's disinformation. And right now, you're just canceled. Who knows? They ever get to pure communism or Nazism, they may go the whole way. So I said that Biden doesn't want them to win wars. So Israel is on the verge of winning this war, right? A couple more weeks, couple more months, just leave them alone. All they asked for were $14 billion. In that tranche alone, you gave $60 billion to Ukraine. You've already given up. You've given about, I mean, let's be honest, you've given about $160 billion to Ukraine. You've given 14, this is a cheap war for you. It's not costing you anything and they're winning. Don't you like to win? I hope you don't, actually. But he's winning and you're going to stop him. Now, you'd say, well, but you really want to win in Ukraine. You're the one that says that Russia's terrible, it's awful, it went into Ukraine, it took whole big parts of Ukraine and won't give it back. If we don't stop them, the world will be over. Communism or whatever, they never mention communism because you are a communist, but you say they'll be on the march. Then why is it that everybody knows you're not giving them what they need to win? First of all, I question, without any doubt, how much of that money gets to anything useful other than paying off you and your old friends. Because it's a hell of a lot of money for having achieved not too much. You've been in a stalemate now for 1.5 to 2 years. I look at that map, I get that one out too. That map's been the same for over a year and a half, maybe a couple of inches of territory one way or the other. And recently Russia's taken a little more territory and they're pounding the hell out of my favorite city, Kharkiv. And you, until recently, were giving them weapons, always late. The little guy was always complaining. He was thanking you, but always saying late. And Europe was saying America is late. And all the papers, even the suck-up papers, were saying that you're late. So now you finally turned over some modern weapons. And I guess they got a little of the trickle-down money as it goes through you and all the oligarchs, and Zelensky, who is the product of one of the major crooked oligarchs, Kolomoisky. But they can only fire a mile or two into Russia. So Kharkiv is 30 miles from Russia. Russia bombs the hell out of it. and then they can hit within a mile of Russia. So the Russians just have to go back 5 miles, and they conduct a war without end, which is what it seems you want. It's quite obvious you want that because somehow in all of the debate about the 60 billion that you got through, even my so-called Republicans, nobody ever asked you for a plan. Bibi has a plan. I just told you what it was. He tells the whole world what the plan is, and he wants peanuts compared to, because there's nobody dividing it. It's all going where it's supposed to go. The other guy has taken 10 times that, 12 times that. Achieve nothing. The map, actually, the map looks like pretty much the map that you inherited from Obama. He just added a couple of things and just grabbed a little territory so he could get a straight road to Crimea. They already had that. He just came in and took the rest. And you haven't moved him since then with all that money. And there's no prospect, even plan, even promise that you move him at all with this money. Nobody even seems to care. Nobody in Congress says, well, what are you going to, how about before we agree with this, somebody come and give us a plan? How about, well, they did very meekly say, we think we should put a monitor on this money. After all, this is one of the most crooked countries in the world. We got to assume they're going to steal some of it. That got nowhere. Well, we did about 4 of these. We don't put a monitor on any of it. And I know there's $5 billion in foreign aid unaccounted for in Ukraine. I know that goes back to Obama. And Obama told him, don't bother to look for it. We're friends. I mean, most of his friends were making a fortune on that. He didn't want that to come back to the NGOs that are being used to launder the money. I could find that money. Maybe Trump should appoint me to find that money. I think I'd get about $3 billion of it pretty quickly if they don't kill me doing it. I mean, there's corruption. I mean, to think that the corruption in Ukraine was confined to the bribe that he admitted is ridiculous. The corruption in Ukraine is systemic. John McCain, I asked him once, when I had to go there and do some work, who can I trust there? He said, nobody. They're all crooked. Just depends on how deeply and whether they are aligned to Putin or not. But they're equally as crooked, both sides. Well, Kolomoisky is on the Ukrainian side. He's the one who's the mentor of Zelensky. Kolomoisky was the biggest money launderer, the head of Bank Privat, one of the most dishonest men in Ukraine. Internationally listed as a guy you couldn't trust. So he created the new president, the little president there who can't seem to win the war, even though we give him unlimited amounts of money. And then on the other side, you had the pro-Russian people. That's the one the Bidens got the millions from. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, the Russians invade, and the Biden family is working for the Russian side while still trying to help Ukraine beat the Russians. But they're getting their money from the Russian-oriented Ukrainian. Of course, it's not about that. It's not about that now. It wasn't about it then. It's about this. How much money can we get? How much money? How much money is out there for us? Let's keep the war going. The longer the war goes, the more money is going to flow. Maybe we can get another. I mean, if they could win, they keep the war going look what they did with Vietnam. They'll keep the war going forever. Johnson would have kept that war on forever. Well, is it the end now for Biden? I mean, has he wandered off and he's completely gone? The sequence in Europe. The first one in France, and the second one when he was with the G7, and he's leaving. because that's not really important. It's more important to come back to Los Angeles and be with the great intellectuals who will give him the ideas he needs to reform America, like was it Susan Sarandon, and who's he coming back to? George Clooney, who's angry at him because they're attacking his wife, who brought the case against Netanyahu and Netanyahu's deputy in the ICC. Of course, very hard. I mean, this is pretty much like the Biden cases. There's no way they can bring a case against Israel because Israel's not a signatory, just like we're not. If you get served with a subpoena from the ICC, rip it up. They have no jurisdiction over you. But the U.S. wants to see if they can somehow create jurisdiction over them through the ICC. But everybody else in America is criticizing them for their lawlessness. Now, she's apparently one of the judges or one of the lawyers, and of course she's from Hollywood, so she has the wrong position. She's in favor of the communists and the crazies. And George Clooney is very, very protective and is very, very angry that the Biden administration isn't doing more to help her. After all, he's done a lot for that creep. And he knows how stupid and idiotic he is. Here he is working for a stupid, idiotic, demented guy. He can't even get a favor out of him. So he's going to have something to say to him when he gets there from Los Angeles. Now, is he going to have a brain when he gets there from Los Angeles, or is it going to be somewhere over the Atlantic? It sure looked like it was someone over the Atlantic the other day. Do you have a picture of the Wanderer? A little shot of the Wanderer here, saved by a very, very nice Italian conservative. Yeah, notice how tentative all those movements are. If I take as long to put my glasses on, the show will be over. I'm telling you, I wouldn't do it because I have too much respect for them. I go into any nursing home, you pick any nursing home, I'll find 20 people better off than him. This is a disgrace. That's a disgrace. See, I wanted to let him go. I want to know where he's going. There isn't a little girl with long hair at the end of that, is there? Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why Georgia stopped him. Look. Yeah, that's almost as interesting. What did he see? A squirrel? What a complete embarrassment. What do you think they thought in Europe when he tried to sit down and there was no chair of our American president, the leader of the free world? What do you think Putin and Xi said? Xi might have said, maybe I'll change my mind. A good time to take Taiwan is while this guy's wandering off after sheep or whatever the hell he was going after. Mamma mia. They have here in the Post, Mamma mia. Well, I don't know if this is true, but I'm going to ask my friends this. So, if you have a very, very nice, well-behaved dog, right? That says something about how well you brought the dog up. I mean, we can say about children too, but we're going to talk about pets now. Right. Now, if you have a dog that bites one or two times even, you got a dog you're not taking care of, right? In fact, if your dog bites one or two times, I mean, they take them away, right? Don't they? I think in New York, don't they, Ted?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe one time you can get away with it. It isn't too bad, but dog gets caught biting. Have you?
Because with Gnome, it's one time you're done. One strike, you're out. If you're with Christy Gnome.
Chris, I'm come shoot it for you.
Yeah. Yeah, one strike, you're out. If you're the dog, you get Christy Gnome. There's no. That's it. Very strict one policy. Romney, you're on the yeah. Yeah. Even before you bite anybody, you're on the dog.
You can't bite anybody up there.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of anybody, ever in the whole history of dogs in civilized society, that's had 2 dogs and they have a total of somewhere near 3 dozen bites?
Yeah.
Who is that person?
Oh, no, I don't know.
You know of any person that has such a thing? Well, Biden has had 2 dogs, and they apparently terrorized the Secret Service.
Neglect. The dogs are neglected. That's why.
Commander, there was a recent situation with the Secret Service where one group was replacing another at the White House, and they wished them safe shift, meaning safe meaning that they won't get bitten by Commander, and they've been advised to put a muzzle on them. There are records that show that, which they refuse to do. They'd rather have him bite the Secret Service. I mean, they treat the dog like they treat the granddaughter they don't recognize. This is one hell of a family. This is from the Post, Stephen Nelson. The number of dog attacks involving Commander, who the White House said in February was given away after more than 2 years of terrorizing professionals assigned to protect Biden, and former first dog Major, who was rehomed, that's a nice way, in 2021, after also attacking personnel, could top 3 dozen, new records suggest. The 81-year-old president, who reportedly accused a Secret Service member of lying about being attacked by Major, was present for at least 3 attacks involving Commander, record show, and litigation. September 12, 2023, I guess this was Commander, a pair of bites, and he tore holes in a Secret Service member's suit as Biden took him for a walk along the South Lawn. On September 25, following yet another attack involving Commander, a sergeant in the Secret Service Uniform Division wrote a colleague, FYI, there was a dog bite, and the officer may need to go to the hospital. Have a safe shift. November 3rd, 2022, a Secret Service agent went to a hospital as a result of a dog bite at the White House. And a second Secret Service agent was seen at the hospital on July 29, 2023. What the hell's that all about? Not a sick family. I mean, this is a sick family. I mean, think about it. The dogs are engaged in somewhere near 3 dozen bites of law enforcement officials.
Son's a drug addict.
2 dogs have to be taken away from him because he can't take care of dogs. His son, he virtually led into degenerate drug addiction by putting him in the business he put him in because he couldn't find some scumbag in Washington to be his bag man. He had to use his son. And it looked like he was attempting to do the same thing with, and he is moving it on to the next generation. How does he get away with this? I mean, somebody has a dog, 1 bite, 2 bites, dog gone. It's okay. A Secret Service, you put your life in jeopardy to protect the president. You're going to get killed by his dog? This is a perverted, sick family that is odious to the United States. It smells. They smell. We'll take a short break and we'll be back after that. And if I put my name on something, I truly believe in it. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce you to something I'm incredibly proud of. My own brand of organic specialty coffee, Rudy Coffee. Believe me when I say it's the best coffee you'll ever try. It's smooth, rich, chocolatey, and gentle on your stomach. It's so good, I even recommend drinking it black. It comes in 3 varieties, including what I promise is the best decaf you'll ever have. You can order now by scanning the QR code on your screen or by visiting rudy.coffee. By supporting Rudy Coffee, you're not just treating yourself to exceptional coffee, you're also supporting our cause, the cause of truth, justice, and American democracy. You'll also be supporting the Call to Action nonprofit, which is devoted to helping veterans and first responders, so you can make a difference and taste the difference by ordering today at rudy.coffee.
And we're back.
This is Rudy Giuliani back with you with America's Mayor Live. There's been a real outbreak of anti-Semitic incidents in New York in the last week, and there always are. But this week it seems worse than ever. The Palestinians began a protest at I think on Monday this week. At the beginning of the week, they began a protest at the Brooklyn Museum because the Brooklyn Museum was hosting a memorial to the attack on the Nova Music Festival. The attack that took place on October 7th. And it's been there for quite some time, actually, and it's getting near the end. And it broke out into a good deal of violence, and 22 people were arrested in the course of it. That wasn't enough for them. The Nova people then began harassing and putting in jeopardy, really, the safety and lives of the board members. Now, I got to tell you, the Brooklyn Museum is not my favorite place. It's the place that had the art exhibit in which they put dung on our Blessed Mother and had various sacrilegious images of Jesus. And I took city funding from them on the theory that you could do that if you wanted. I don't know why you'd want to, but you could do that. You could do that in a private museum. In fact, they had, and I'd have to protect you. That's the First Amendment, but I don't have to pay for it. Well, of course, the Times and everybody else went nuts on me. They said I was anti-First Amendment. I thought I was complete First Amendment, which includes freedom of religion. Not for Catholics, though. You see, the same thing had happened in Chicago, but they had done it to Muhammad. So Chicago threw him out because Muhammad is entitled to respect, but Jesus Christ and his mother aren't entitled to respect. It's true now with the Biden administration making Christianity, and particularly Catholicism, an enemy. And he poses as a Catholic. I mean, he's the only president that I know of, unless we go back to the century before last, that has decided to zero in on Catholics. Looks like his attorney general is severely anti-Catholic. He's even worried about people that go to Latin masses. Jesus, you think he'd worry a little about all the spies that have come into the United States that we can't even find because Biden let them in without any kind of vetting. I mean, there could be thousands, there could be hundreds of thousands. We only asked the Chinese 4 questions, and our crooked AG doesn't complain about that. He's worried about the Catholics. Well, if you look at the picture I have in my camera here, you'll see the home of one of the directors of the Brooklyn Museum. I mean, this woman is I don't know if the directors even get paid or not, but I mean, they don't get paid very much. And it is a public service. And boy, I disagree with them, but I agree completely with their right to be protected. They don't agree with our right to be protected. For example, they never did a damn thing about what happened in front of Justice Kavanaugh's house, even after he got a very serious attempt on his life. In fact, Schumer encouraged it by saying that he's going to have hell to pay. Schumer went much further than anything Donald Trump ever said about January 6th. Of course, left alone. But I mean, we have concern. This woman, I may disagree with this woman about lots of things, but I sure don't want to see this happen to a house. When I was mayor, when I sent my firefighters into a house, I didn't ask if they were Republican, Democrat, black, white, pink, green. All I cared about was saving lives. Same thing here. And also ending religious bigotry. I put out people to protect Muslims after September 11th. So you think they put out everybody to protect us? No way. They won't protect Robert Kennedy Jr. I mean, they're brutal people. You got a bunch of real gangsters in the White House. They won't protect Robert Kennedy Jr. Are you crazy? Are you nuts? I mean, if this were a country with common sense, we would all figure out what gangsters you are. Look, I don't agree with Robert Kennedy. Some things I do, I might add. It's a great book. But whether I thought he wrote a great book or didn't write a great book or agree with him, disagree with him, I do realize as an intelligent, informed person that he's a person at special risk. And you're angry at him because he's running against you, you small-minded little shit. And you won't protect him? And the American people just accept it? What's wrong with us? We should be going crazy that you're not protecting him. Well, that's the picture. Did they see the house? Did they see Miss Pasternak's house? The woman who is the chairman of the board is Ann Pasternak. And they came to her house and they painted on it and they put some marking on it that was a upside down triangle, which indicates in Palestine the homes that they're going to target people, whether they're Jewish people or they're people they feel are turncoats, to the cause of killing all Jews and Americans. And there, the fire department looks like it, or whoever looks like they're trying to take that off the house. And it was done also to some of the other Jewish members of the board. Since when in America, if you're a Jewish member of a board, can that happen to your house? Since when can that happen in America's largest Jewish city that is damn proud of being America's largest Jewish city, which gained a lot from being America's largest Jewish city? It's one of the things we owe to the Jewish people is their contribution to building New York. And now on St. Patrick's Day, you'll hear me say the same thing about the Irish. And on Columbus Day, you'll hear me say the same thing about my background, the Italians and the Italian Americans. And I'll tell you, you take down Columbus's statue, I'll put it right back up. And I'll make sure that you don't do it again. And I can go. I'm not going to go through the whole list. I'm going to miss, Polish and Black and Puerto Rican and Dominican. When I became mayor, there was an office, a perfect example of what we do now. You could call it the identity office. They had a European American office. They had an African American office. They had a Hispanic office. They had an Indian American office. They had a Pakistan American office because the Indians and the Pakistan wouldn't accept the same people. They had 13 offices. And the first appointment that came to me was European American. And I said to my best friend and soon to be chief of staff and my campaign manager, who the hell are we going to put in a European American office? If we put a Spanish American or we put an Italian American or an Irish American or all the rest are going to get angry at me. This is politically useless. He said, well, wait till you see all the other ones we got to fill. Let me see the list. I said, how come we didn't know about this? We should have campaigned on this. Didn't I run on a one city, one standard? He said, you sure did. And didn't I win? Yeah, you did. I said, well, one city, one standard. Give me the list. I tore it up. I said, all those offices are gone. All 13. We're going to have one community affairs office. You know how they'll get my attention? By being New Yorkers. They'll come to me and they'll say, I have a problem. I'm a citizen in New York. Okay, I'll help you. I'll do exactly what my cops do. Or my firefighters. They hear about a fire. They don't say, would you please tell me how many whites, how many blacks, how many browns, and how many men and women? Are there any trans in there? Oh, it's not a... Oh, It's not a diversified house. Well, I think equity requires we let you burn down. How is there an injection that we can give people called common sense? Because if we could, America would soar right to the top. What happened to us? When did we think we had to have 13 different offices for every subdivision we could imagine? Could you imagine what it would be now with the 50? I don't even know. I probably get it all wrong. I sound like a fool, an old fool. How many genders are there?
LGBTQIA QS plus 2K. I think I got them all.
That's only about 7 or 8.
That's not all, but
Well,
that's
first
not
of all,
all.
I believe there are only 2. I'm simple-minded and dumb. I know that. But I think there is male and female. But I'm wrong. So, but then I hear numbers like 50. There are 50. So, I mean, LGBTQT. I know what some of those are, like homosexual, lesbian, but I'm not sure that's a gender. How do you come up with 50? Nobody answering that?
There's more than 50.
That's helpful. Well, how about 50? I mean, for example, when I hear about this, tell me this is not true. I hear, and this must be what they mean by when Biden gets all upset about crazy MAGA people. The crazy MAGA people, are they the ones that are making up the fact that teachers actually bring kitty litter into school for the children who believe they're cats?
Yeah, did we ever confirm that?
I don't know. I've heard that from a lot of people.
I have, but I just got to confirm that.
I've heard that from a lot of people. I tend to think it's true.
That's so nuts, right?
How are you going to come up with 50 plus genders if some of them aren't animals?
Fair.
Can you imagine what happens if you follow the whims of an infant and growing child? I feel like a boy today. Oh, that's good. Let's see what we can do about hormones. I feel like I want to be a lion today. Oh, let's see what we can do about getting you a cage. Oh, I feel like being a monkey today. Oh, come on, jump up the tree. You know, I mean, adults exist to bring children up. Did you ever hear that expression, bring children up? Now, children exist to bring themselves up any way they want. And the parents get in the way. Now, you look at the animal kingdom, boy, you get in the way of mama cat or mama dog or mama lion. Whack. And that's good for you because you learn the dangers that exist out there for you, for every one of those animals, if you don't follow mama. And in our case, since it's Father's Day coming up, by the way, happy Father's Day. If you don't follow the father, if you're lucky enough to have one, it's always better, 2-family house. Look at the outcomes. Just look at the outcomes. This is no comment or criticism of single-family homes. A lot of those women or men do an unbelievable job. But statistically, the kids from 2-family homes, 2-parent homes, do much better than the kids from 1-parent homes. It's just the reality. It doesn't mean it can't be contradicted here and there. Like anything can. You know, they say, well, children who are the product of abuse become abusive themselves. No, they don't. They become abusive. Many do, but many become almost just the opposite. They become extremely passive in reaction to what happened in their home. So don't get simplistic about it, but also don't get stupid. First of all, you're stupid if you go beyond 2 genders. I'm sorry. You're stupid. Yeah, you're stupid. You know what stupid is? It's dumb.
That's right.
Now, there's one thing that's clear as hell. Man, woman. When there's a blurring of that, there's a problem. Recognize it. It's a problem.
Messing with nature.
When a child who was born a male starts to feel like it wants to be a female, used to be defined as a mental illness. Maybe if you treat it that way and treat the kid and don't chop his genitals off, and then he finds out that he never wanted that change in the first place, maybe you'll have less suicides, you idiots. But you're doing this because of Marxism. You don't even realize it.
Yeah.
You think you're doing this for some humanitarian purpose? You're screwing around with genders that go back to before there was written history. It was science before there was science. And you're smart enough to mess around with that? Jesus, you're not smart enough to pass a Regents exam, which is why they're doing away with it. You're not smart enough to work in my store. And you're smart enough to figure out 67 different genders, you jackass. And what you're doing is you're taking people's lives by messing around that way. And the parents don't get involved. Parents don't. You don't realize what you're doing is you are carrying out the Marx, the Hitler, the Stalin. Make the kid a property of the state as soon as possible. You're making that kid a property of the state, and you're taking it away from the people that love it, the parents. And sure, you got a couple of bad parents, but very few in comparison to the good ones. And you're making policy based on the bad ones? See how stupid you are? And you're being used. That's the worst part. You're stupid and being used. You're being used by Marxists, by people like Soros, who want us to be a completely amoral world, so we'll become one world. I don't know, maybe he wants to run it. Maybe that's how maybe that's the end result of all the guilt acquired by him turning in his brothers and sisters so he can stay alive. I told you before that I'm getting tired of this. Every time we prove to the American people, myself and Trump, and that we're telling the truth and they're lying, and then they lie again, and the press believes them, and half the people believe them, and I get suspended from the bar on a bunch of lies, and I get a $154 million judgment based on a bunch of lies, and I end up being indicted twice for being a lawyer. And it's the same people behind all this. How many times do we have to prove we're telling the truth? Ted, will you go through a few of the top ones since we have the Hunter Biden cave-in today?
That's right, Mayor. What we have here is the chart. This chart, we've pulled this out before, and it just shows once again how you've been proven right time and time again, despite the Democrat Party and their allies in the media's attempts to malign your character and lie about the truth. Of course, we all remember Russian collusion, and we wanted to play a short clip. Here is Adam Schiff, who is now the leading Democrat nominee for Senate in the state of California. Well, Adam Schiff has some explaining to do, and Steve Garvey, the Republican nominee, is actually holding him accountable for this. But this is just one example of how the Democrat Party, the Biden family and their allies lied, just openly lied about your character, Mayor, and what you knew to be true. Here's Adam Schiff.
Evidence concerning officials at the Trump Organization. On the issue, the core issue in Mueller's investigation, that core issue is collusion or conspiracy. And so who are those Trump Organization officials? Are they family members of the president? What is the evidence they have? It looks like this is separate and apart from the evidence on the Trump Tower model.
So let's play that from the beginning.
Evidence concerning officials at the Trump Organization. On the issue, the core issue in Mueller's investigation, that core issue is collusion or conspiracy. And so who are those Trump Organization officials? Are they family members of the president? What is the evidence they have? It looks like this is separate and apart from the evidence on the Trump Tower Moscow deal. They were having private conversations seeking to enlist the Kremlin's help in a project that could make him tens or hundreds of millions of dollars, a project that might need Putin's approval, while they were arguing that sanctions on Russia should go away. That's pretty breathtaking, and we need to keep in mind that what Mueller is telling us, what the Southern District of New York is telling us in these filings, is not even the most.
Exactly the one I wanted, but it's similar. That's one of his lies. The one that I wanted is the one which is very McCarthy-like, in which he says he has a list of individuals that have direct evidence of Trump's involvement in Russian collusion. That's the one that I want. We'll try to get that for next week.
Sure.
But that's almost like Joe McCarthy did when he says, I have 230 card-carrying communists in the State Department. Now, the problem is McCarthy may have been right. He's lying. And not only that, if he had that list, why didn't he produce it?
So
Produce it now. If I were running against him, I'd say, don't vote for him until he produces the list.
So we have we have more than one example.
So it turns out that all of them are lying about it, and she paid for it.
That's right. And so
That's
here,
a paid-for lie.
so we can show Russian collusion. Who was lying about that? Obviously, the Hillary Clinton campaign, Biden and co., and of course, members of the deep state. Who was telling the truth? Of course, President Trump, Mayor Giuliani, and members of the MAGA movement who had called that out from the start. The Biden's Ukraine bribery. Remember this doozy? We have, we're going to show a clip now of President.
All you need to do is look at this clip, and you can see who's telling the truth and who's lying.
And I remember going over convincing our team, or others, to convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid at the time. Well, there's still, they made, and so I got Ukraine. And I remember going over convincing.
That's what he was paid for.
Well, what does he mean by solid?
The crime of bribery is quid pro quo. What they claim that Trump did, but he did. Quid pro quo is this for that. If you do that, you committed bribery. This, $1 billion loan guarantee that he desperately needed. That, get rid of the prosecutor. The purpose? To dismiss the case against Burisma. The new prosecutor did that. And by the way, you should know there's additional evidence on tape that Biden approved the new prosecutor. What the hell is he, Vice President of the United States, approving a prosecutor for? Oh, left out of all that is that his son is a principal in the company and a defendant in the case that was dismissed.
And we have a lot.
Straight out and out bribe. You don't need much more than that to violate the bribery statute, which is one of the most serious that we have. And by the way, there's plenty more than that. 6 witnesses, tapes, emails. The case is overwhelming. Even a Biden jury would convict him because they'd realize what a scumbag he is.
That's right. So we have talked about Russian collusion, the Russian collusion hoax, and how Mayor Giuliani was right about that. We just talked about Biden's Ukrainian bribery and the cover-up and how they tried to paint it as nothing but a conspiracy theory. Who was right about that? Mayor Giuliani. Now today, and again, all of us have known this for the longest time, but now I don't know how we could argue otherwise at this point. Hunter Biden's laptop, 100%, everything the mayor said about that thing and his attorney, Bob Costello, has turned out to be true. It was entered into evidence, right? And nobody questioned it. Therefore, Hunter and his attorney were forced to drop the lawsuit. So again, who is proven right here? Mayor Giuliani. We got to add Mr. Bob Costello here. Sorry, Bob, but you belong there as well. Who was lying? Once again, Biden. So what common thread do you see here? Biden and company. Biden. There's Biden. There's Biden. So here we go. Yet again, Mayor Giuliani proven right. So where does that leave us? Well, there's at least one big lie remaining, and that, of course, is the 2020 U.S. presidential election. So, folks, as you read about these issues and read about these things, just keep this in mind. Keep in mind who's proven to be telling the truth. And keep in mind who's proven themselves to be liars. And this is coming from a man, Mayor Giuliani, right? Not only is he demonstrating, not only is time showing him to be right, but you know it based off of his lifetime career of public service, right? His time as the most effective federal prosecutor in American history, right? Where does that lead us, folks? Where does that lead us? So we're going to continue to bring this up in the coming days. We have a lot more to say about this, but we figured we'd put this chart together. We're calling it perception versus reality. But of course, these liars deal in the art of deception, and they try to present that to the American people as reality, and it just simply isn't the case. So here we are, folks. Here we are. So stay tuned. We'll have more on this. Mayor?
Well,
we'll turn it back to you.
I think that is a pretty good indication of who you can rely on and who you can't rely on. And we could do about 4 or 5 more of those on lesser issues if you want, as well as the lawsuits that have been brought, including the lawfare framing up on criminal charges, which is really the worst thing of all when they do that. That criminal charges that you see how specious and how contrived they are, and they've got just one liar after another testifying. But today is flagged again.
Sorry, I wanted to make one more point, Mayor.
Please.
So, look, some of you may be seeing some increased stories or issues involving the mayor's ongoing bankruptcy, which is only occurring because of this 148 ridiculous judgment to these 2 election workers. But we must say this isn't by accident, folks. What you're seeing is a concerted effort to push back on the big story of the day, which is Hunter Biden having to drop his lawsuit because this laptop hard drive and its contents has been effectively authenticated when it was entered into evidence, and nobody challenged it or refuted it. Certainly not Hunter Biden or his legal team. Therefore, you will continue to see, this is just the beginning, right? And we all know this, but you will continue to see a concerted effort by forces which I'm continuing to research and look into here. But you will continue to see these efforts to smear and malign the mayor. And of course, we all know it's not going to work. Mayor Giuliani is the ultimate warrior and champion for the American people and the values that made this country great, and he's not stopping now. So with that, Mayor, I want to turn it back to you, but it's important, and I want to say, and I'm not, I don't want to stop just tonight. I'm going to come back in the future and remind you guys that there is a concerted effort right now against obviously President Trump, but also Mayor Giuliani.
Yeah.
And it's also because they're not just going after them. They certainly are, but they stand in the way of who they're really trying to control, and that's the American people, right? And they can't handle people like Mayor Giuliani, of course, President Trump, but the focus here is Mayor Giuliani. They can't stand people with, the ultimate character and integrity, right? More integrity than anybody else you can think of. They can't stand that these folks aren't willing to shut up and be censored, right? They're going to continue to speak the truth and take on the permanent Washington political class and these people that have hijacked our government, and the mayor is going to continue to expose them. So with that, Mayor, I want to turn it back to you, but it's important that we talk about this and that we don't remain silent, right? And so I want to thank all of you for joining us. We have to, this fight is just beginning, right? And of course, it's going to come to a head here in November. And when I say fight, of course, we're talking figuratively. This isn't a call for violence. But ladies and gentlemen, our country's on the line, right? We've probably already lost parts of it, but we can get it back in November. And all of you joining us and fighting alongside the mayor here, day in and day out. No days off at this point, right? No days off. All right, Mayor, turn it back to you.
Well, that was very, very good, Ted. And I should add that in this analysis, we include Peter Navarro, who's been put in prison and is going to get out in a few weeks. But also Steve Bannon, who's being put in prison at a very, very special time. Steve Bannon is one of the strongest voices for President Trump and the MAGA movement. He could be in jail during the election. Now, his sentence could easily be put off until after. In fact, in the normal course of things, with how minor his conviction is, he would get bail pending appeal. He still hasn't appealed to the Supreme Court, and he has a justiciable issue. That means he's got a real issue. Think about this. His defense was executive privilege. So was Peter Navarro. So is the crooked, maligned, disgusting, and dishonest Attorney General, who says executive privilege, I'm not going to show you her video. Now, what's executive privileged about that? It's not a private communication of the president to one of his staff. That's what executive privilege covers. Number two, it's been waived because they put out a transcript of it, which purports to be accurate. So, having done that, you have a right to see the best evidence of it. This means the White House could put out all kinds of phony transcripts, and then if challenged, say it's executive privilege, you can't get the recording. We're going to start a whole new chapter of Biden lying if, God forbid, he gets reelected. There's no executive privilege involved. And they're not waiting for the Supreme Court to decide or doing anything. It's just not even bringing the case. They brought the Navarro and Bannon cases so damn fast it made your head spin. And now one's gone to jail, the other hasn't, and they're not even investigating the one involving the most crooked attorney general in history. The guy who goes after Catholics because they go to Latin Mass, or parents because they complain about being excluded from decisions like mutilating their children. I mean, this guy's a wacko. Thank God he didn't get on a Supreme Court. And he's got some strange situations with his relatives of conflict that he ignores completely. So the Bannon going to prison is really, really outrageous. It gives you an idea of exactly how far we've gone along the road to communism and fascism. Well, so does the prosecution of Trump on that case in New York and the cases against me and Navarro going to prison. The new case they brought in Wisconsin against Michael Roman. Wisconsin, I mean, there's a report by a judge telling you that the election was Trump's, showing you all the going to nursing homes and getting votes from people who are like Biden. They don't even know they voted. Who's going to vote for Biden? He might check the wrong box. I guess Jill will. She'll slap him around and root for him. Shut up. I have a poor view of her because of the way she treats Navy Biden. I just think a stepmother shouldn't be putting out 6 stockings when you have 7 grandchildren. 6. Particularly when you know that you're going to break the kid's heart. And this is going to be a matter of history. 30 years from now, it'll be a grandfather didn't recognize you. But maybe she might like that when she realizes what he's going to be like in history. All the money he took from Russia, all the money he took from China, how he sold us out to China. Who knows what the ramifications of that are going to be? Unless they do a marvelous job of cover-up, there'll be nothing like him to compare to any other president in American history. I mean, I can see times in the future when they take his statue really out, because we don't want to remember that we were this bad in selecting a president, or that there was so much fraud in an election, both before and during and after the election. Or we had a president that killed so many people that didn't need to be killed because it wasn't really a time of war, except the wars he created. Well, you have a wonderful weekend, all you fathers. It's one of the most wonderful things in the world to be a father. May even be better to be a grandfather. My little Gracie is the delight of my life. And my children are wonderful sources of pride for me. When I think about Hunter Biden, like the president, I've always, from the beginning, had a certain amount of sympathy for Hunter Biden. It's hard to have complete sympathy for him because he is a grown man, and you can't excuse all the things drug addicts do, otherwise they'll murder people, and you can't allow them to carry guns. even if they are. In fact, the reason they shouldn't carry guns is because they're drug addicts. So you can't excuse them for carrying guns because they're drug addicts. You gun control people should know that. So here, I mean, it's you gun control people don't recognize that a gun actually is just standing there, a neutral instrument. A gun can't do anything except if it's Alex Baldwin. Alex Baldwin's gun is the only gun that can shoot without pressing a trigger. But since you don't have an Alex Baldwin gun and aren't going to get one, there's only one way that gun is dangerous, and that's if a human being activates it, knowingly or negligently. So if you are law-abiding and careful, the gun is perfectly safe.
They always have been.
Okay? Somebody's got to activate it. So here's why we say, and you agree with this or not, if a person is a criminal, if a person is an alcoholic, if a person is too young to understand what they're doing, if a person is insane and not understand what they're doing, or is on drugs and has impaired judgment, it should be a crime for them to have a gun in order to deter them from having guns. And they should be prosecuted for lying on the form because, those forms don't mean anything in terms of protecting us against guns unless people tell the truth. And we have situations where people got guns lawfully, but not, they lied. So when you catch a prominent person in particular lying, you have to make an example out of him so that people feel the fear of God in filling out that form, because that form could lead to how the guy who gets into the school and kills 18 people got the gun. I mean, our problem is that not that we have gun control laws, we don't enforce them. I can show you a whole shooting in New York where Hochul's or Cuomo's redo of our laws made it possible for killing the people and getting the guns. They were never turned in. Nobody reported. What are you going to do about that? You can have all the laws in the world if they don't follow them. It's not going to help you. So in order to make laws work, there's got to be respect for them, which means they're enforced. So that law had to be enforced. Do I consider it the most serious thing he did? No way. Not even the tax offenses. I consider the money from Ukraine really serious. I consider that a crime at the highest levels of two governments involving the president of Ukraine and vice president of the United States. I believe it's one of the things that is hopelessly and irreparably compromising our relationship with Ukraine in this war. And I think the money from China is beyond explanation. There's no way to explain how America sits by and allows, even if you stupidly believe he got no money, that the family of a president can get over $30 million from our biggest enemy that wants to take over from us, wants to destroy us, and is building up the biggest military in the world to defeat us militarily. I can't believe that you could have elected a president like that and that you're thinking of re-electing him. And by the way, there's no doubt he got money. Remember the text, December 2018, from Hunter to his daughter. For 35 years, I've been paying all the expenses of the family, and I still have to give half my income to the crook, Pop. That's the flow of money. He explains it. That's what you call evidence. When they say there's no evidence he got money, that's how they're lying. That is evidence that he got money. There's plenty more. I don't have the time to go over it. We will at some point. There could be 20 to 30 separate pieces of evidence that he got money. But that one is dramatic. It's an overview. It's better than you get in most cases where you get a conviction. And it comes from the chief co-conspirator. And it comes at a time where he had no reason to lie. So let him go explain it. That's what they did to Trump, right? They let every damn liar in the world say what they wanted to say. Well, here, Hunter Biden says, I gave half my money to my father. They don't even report it. The lousy bum traitors don't even report it. You can't even get the conservative media to emphasize it. It's an admission at trial. It's powerful evidence at trial. It comes in as an exception to the hearsay rule. It's been evidence for hundreds of years. Am I the only lawyer that recognizes that? Maybe they should disbar all the rest of them and let me be a lawyer. You can't locate that text message in that. I give you that hard drive for a day. You can't locate it. I get rid of your law license. It jumps out at you like, when Costello and I looked at that, we said, no way he can get away with this. We didn't count on how crooked the Justice Department and the courts are, did we? How the judges make themselves into asses because they're so crooked. Look at this Mershon and Engelmoron. Ooh. Well, there'll be plenty more on all of this over the weekend and on Monday. We'll be back at 3 o'clock on X. And then we'll be back at 8 with America
Monday.
Live Monday.
Monday.
And then the week after next, I think we have a big new show to unveil for you. And I'm going to tell you when. It could be between 7 and 8, we think. Big new show with a whole bunch of additional networks. You see, we're getting our wish through your help. We're getting our word out. So you get subscribers for us because this is the way we win, because we need to keep these mediums alive that get this information to you. Look, I'm about the only one that gives you the information on half my income for 30 years went to my father. I mean, most of the American people I must have said that 1,000 times. I put it out for the first time when I saw it. And they just don't cover it. Then they don't cover the other one, which I didn't even make it into the trial, where Hunter admits that the psychiatrist excluded him from seeing the children because he was sexually inappropriate with children. And although he says that the child recanted it, he then says and admits to his father that he is a danger to the children. Why wasn't that put in the trial to show that his drug addiction was not victimless? What's this protection for? To protect this guy who hurts children. He definitely hurt children. I mean, he was around that house for a couple of years with smoke in every goddamn corner of it, which was crack. He was walking around that house with no clothes on. And he was walking around that house talking to prostitutes and bringing them there and doing things with them. And minor children were in that house. You tell me that the psychiatrist is wrong and he didn't do damage to those kids? And we don't get a child pornography charge? In fact, the only guy that doesn't get one.
I would say it's to protect something even bigger than that, which is 100-year goal to infiltrate this country through some.
Well, you're right. You're right. It is the deep state, because if Biden gets cracked, they're afraid the deep state will get cracked.
Right.
And they're all making money off that. Got power, privilege, and they're all part of the golden circle where we can never prosecute them. Look at Obama giving money to terrorists, including terrorists that kill Americans, and he got away with it. Look at Hillary, 32,000, 33,000 emails destroyed. And Trump is getting indicted for a couple of papers moved around at Mar-a-Lago.
Crazy.
Okay. Now you know how crazy it is. You come back to us. Pray for the people of Israel. Pray for the people of the United States and Ukraine. And God bless America, the greatest country on earth. And we're going to prove that this election day.
Bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. It was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are